The hidden mystery, reptilians, and the secret origin of mankind. Are the reptilians the first masters of Earth? Without a doubt, the existence of reptilians is one of the most fashionable, but also the most controversial theories of the beginnings of humanity. The idea of a species that has coexisted since the formation of our planet represents the secret history of Earth and includes the existence of a secret society known as the reptilian race. The dating of the planet, recorded almost 19 million years before Christ. At the moment when the world's scientists, but also the high prelates, would jointly recognize the existence of UFOs and beings from other worlds, all these scholars would admit that Earth is not the only planet in the universe that gave birth to forms of extremely advanced life. Unfortunately, however, the acceptance of this idea would involve a harsh attack on the human ego, and the man on Earth would hardly admit this. However, according to ancient Hindu writings, Earth is only a newborn compared to other planets, such as Venus, which has a long period of evolution ahead of us. Thus, life forms on Venus are highly evolved, while the story of the first rational man on Earth really dates back to 1861781 BC. In other words, the dating of our world is recorded almost 19 million years before Christ. And this makes possible the existence of many cohabiting entities, which are more and more full of mystery. The legend begins on Venus. It is said that the reptilians would have arrived on Earth from Venus and that they would have occupied the surface of our planet for a short period, being forced to leave it due to unfavorable conditions for them. The entities had large sizes, scaly bodies, frog-like eyes, and were extremely mentally advanced, despite the fact that they had not evolved morally and spiritually. On the contrary, they were apparently aggressive and cruel. To survive, they eventually settled inside the Earth, where they built real cities, hundreds of thousands of kilometers deep. They also took possession of an already existing tunnel system, built by those who escaped from Atlantis when that civilization collapsed. Scientist and philosopher Riley Crabb has studied ancient texts for years, trying to find evidence of the reptilian race. If it ruled our planet thousands of years ago, it certainly left a mark, which we find in the legends about snakes and dragons of all peoples. But the snake that walks like a man seems to have also left its portrait, carved in stone, in various places on Earth. In this spirit, the statement of the American researcher Robert Dickoff, who offers the example of a stone sculpture of the Babylonian god Ashur, a humanoid deity with an eagle's head and wings, but otherwise like other people. In the book The Road to Heaven, the writer George Williamson compares the photo of one of the gigantic stone statues on the Markawasi Plateau in Peru with a picture of the Egyptian god Thuares, located in the museum in Cairo, and finds an incredible similarity. The head of Thuares has the same shape as that of Ashur, which I was talking about previously, although other experts have compared it more to the appearance of a hippopotamus. That's because Thuares is fat and naked and has no scales or wings. There is a writer who preferred to shroud himself in mystery and always signed himself with the pseudonym Branton, who dedicated a long time to this subject. In the monograph entitled The Truth About the Reptilian Race and the Subterranean Origin of UFOs, he argues, no more, no less, that his theories should serve as an instruction manual for members of the human resistance or a guide to extraterrestrial strategy. Tibetan monks enslaved to Hitler's diabolical plans. Tangible evidence of the existence of such a race was recorded in Germany at the end of the Second World War. A strange cult of occult Tibetan monks has been discovered in Berlin itself, beneath the ruins left behind by Allied bombing. The monks were killed by the explosions, but immediately after the discovery of the bodies there were rumors that they came from the Himalaya mountains, under which there is said to be one of the largest concentrations of Nagas or members of the reptilian race. It was even said that they were secretly working for Hitler in order to create a worldwide demonic religion. Scholar Sherman Minton, an expert in amphibian and reptilian biology, claims that the Sheshna fountain in Benares, India, has 40 steps that descend into a circular depression and lead to a stone door on which cobras are carved. Some say this is the entrance to Padala, the reptilian hell. The shocking hypothesis of the birth of Adam. Old Hindu theories hold that the master Sanat Kumara, one of the first Adamic reptilians from Venus, named the first man Adam as an offering to the Venusian civilizing force. At the moment when Adam would have woken up to consciousness and thus become man from the animal, he would have been either androgynous or bisexual. He was a dual being, having both male and female organs, but balanced for his material body. To facilitate the reproduction procedure, Sanat Kumara would have changed Adam's sexual polarization, and thus he would have become unisexual. This is how Eve was later created, who became the half of Adam. The existence of reptilians is not a new subject under the sun, 20 to 30 or 40 years old, as some believe, or appeared in the middle of the ufological explosion of the mid-20th century. Nor is it a science fiction invention of Hollywood, no matter how well they did in movies or series like The Alligator People, Enemy Mine, Conan the Barbarian, Krull, Star Trek. In fact, witnesses, legends, writers, and chroniclers have been talking about reptilians for thousands of years. Here are just a few small examples when the reptilian presence made its presence alongside humans. Oannes, half fish, reptilian, half man, arrived in the Persian Gulf to teach him the civilization of the ancient Mesopotamians. The Canaanite goddess Katesh interacted with a multitude of intelligent beings that had snake forms. In Sumerian literature, Gilgamesh loses his powers of immortality to a snake. The Sumerian god of fertility, Ninjizida, is depicted as a snake. The ancient Jewish tribe of Levi is said to have conquered Europe, being ruled by reptilian lords. It has been argued that reptilians are evolved beings on Earth that expanded into the cosmos long ago, and others will argue, on the contrary, that they came here from the constellation Draco, hence the nickname Draconians. According to the book The Secret History of the Reptilians, we have the following theory regarding these reptilian beings. Reptilians evolved on two separate planets, one being Earth and the other a planet near Draconis, the brightest star in the Draco constellation. It was one of the 48 constellations listed by the 2nd century astronomer Ptolemy and remains one of the 88 modern constellations today. From these two distant planets, two reptilian races evolved and helped shape our planet and civilization as we know it today. As the two reptilian races evolved, the evil-spirited, warlike, manipulative, and deceitful nature of the Draconian reptilians knew that the Earth reptilians were a peaceful, kind-hearted race. Draconians were so evolved that, like the Arcturians, they overcame the physical limitations of their material bodies, eschewing, despite their evil nature, their carnivorous need to eat and digest solid food, developing the ability to ingest their nutrients only through pure energy. The only problem was that their necessary energy source for food was bad, evil energy. Consequently, in order to survive, Draconians must ingest evil energy, and this fact alone turns simple self-preservation for Draconians into an evil agenda. For a time, the Draconian reptilians fed off the energy of the gray aliens, who were their slaves. But then, these gray aliens, exhausted by the negative energy used by the evil master race, rebelled and broke free. Then apparently they continued with their own agenda. Deprived of their evil energy slave race, the Draconians were in desperate need of new sources of nourishment. So they set off in their mighty fleet, looking for other planets that had populations they could feed on. But of course the energy of those populations had to be composed of evil energy, so searching for the right planet was a painstaking and lengthy operation. Until they hit planet Earth. Here on Earth, the Draconian reptilians discovered the reptoids of Earth, who were benevolent and peaceful. But the new Draconian reptilians set their sights on the indigenous population of Earth, the humans. So they set in motion a plan to use Earth's human population as their food source. But for that, they first had to eliminate and remove the reptoids. As a result, most of the latter have left our planet. Some Earth-evolved reptoids are rumored to still exist in Earth's underground caverns, secretly operating as freedom fighters for Earth's human population, countering the Draconian reptilian agenda. The reptilian extraterrestrials of the constellation Draco continue to watch over our planet and have emissaries here on Earth who carry out tasks to ensure that humans stay on the path of corruption, hatred, and selfishness. The more evil there is in the world, the more food the Draconians have, for as I said, they feed on evil energy. On January 29, 1934, during the worst economic crisis in the history of the industrialized world, an exciting article appeared on the front page of the prestigious Los Angeles Times that would feed the reader's imagination, generating a new conspiracy theory years later. The greater Los Angeles lies above a lost city of catacombs filled with incalculable treasures and imperishable records of a race of men more intellectually and scientifically advanced than even the highest type of peoples. Today, deep in the earth beneath Fort Moore Hill, the lizard people. The city under the city. The author of the article, Gene Boscott, had confidently taken the information from a geophysical mining engineer, Warren Schufelt, who claimed that deep drilling had discovered a massive network of labyrinths, and in his opinion they appeared to form a vast underground city built 5,000 years ago by an unknown, highly advanced race called the Lizard Men. The article also stated that the ancient race had stored in these galleries impressive amounts of treasure and important information written on golden tablets. The shock felt by the readers was in line with the editor's expectations, especially since in the history of humanity there have been countless descriptions of reptilian humanoids. From Cecropsi to Miss Edith. For example, the mythical first king of Athens, Cecropsi, was immortalized as half man, half snake. In ancient Egypt, the god Sobek was represented with the head of a crocodile. Dragon legends abound in the Far East, and in Aztec culture the supreme deity Quetzalcoatl was a feathered winged serpent. Curiously, there was a legend among the Native Americans in the immediate vicinity of Los Angeles about the lizard people, and it is known for certain that one of them, named Hopi, told it to the geophysical engineer. Therefore, the American collective vision was somehow prepared, and the certainty displayed in the newspaper pages was only a welcome confirmation. As if that was not enough, in September the Journal of the American Society for Psychical Research added fuel to the fire by publishing the letter of a clairvoyant, Miss Edith, who claimed that in the presence of a group of friends she had had a vision of a civilization ancient living at that time in underground cities built in gigantic tunnels. Thus, for many people, the existence of the reptilians had become a belief, and it was obvious that the government was covering up the truth in order to secretly recover the invaluable treasures and information. A former footballer and the Babylonian Brotherhood. However, in the following years the mirage of the lizard people faded and everything became an urban legend until, in 1999, a former footballer and sports presenter would permanently corrupt the imagination of thousands and thousands of people. It is the Englishman David von Icke, a well-known conspiracy theorist, author of more than 20 books dealing with his own vision of the world and the universe, all seasoned with a passionate denunciation of countless totalitarian tendencies in the contemporary world. Careful. We are talking about a man who in a live broadcast on the BBC called himself the Son of God and who claims that he was placed on Earth with a well-defined purpose. Of course, he also stated that sacred voices bring to his knowledge all the events that are hidden from the common man by the corrupt world governments. Regarding the lizard people, Mr. Icke is said to have been inspired by the works of a Zulu healer, Sangoma, in South Africa, a well-known author of books that talks about alien encounters and describes a race of reptilians who have controlled the world for thousands of years. The ex-footballer over time created a conspiracy theory based strictly on the reptilian race he called the Babylonian Brotherhood, a secret group that controls all of humanity. Reptilians among us. He also assures us that they have the ability to transform into ordinary people, and thus reptilian humanoids have been able to occupy the most important positions around the planet. To take the ridiculousness to extremes, he even named some prominent figures who in his opinion belonged to the ancient race: U.S. President George W. Bush, country singer Chris Christopherson, the British royal family, the tycoon Rothschild. Thus, the credulous population no longer looks for arguments related to the existence of reptilians, but searches for new personalities that could be lizards disguised as humans. This is how intelligent manipulation manifests itself. This man also proposed that the moon is artificial, that it is probably a hollow planetoid used by the Babylonian Brotherhood of reptilians to convey an artificial sense of self and world. The question is, who is this information shared with? Over time, the well-known conspiracy theorist has spoken about many other things, making his biography an incredible read. Even if we are in the realm of the ridiculous, I have to tell you that Mr. David Icke has gathered an impressive number of followers, spread over every meridian of the planet. He himself acts like a movie star and is constantly on tour where his fans support him with pride and full confidence. Reptilians, the non-human elite who secretly control the world. David Icke, the famous researcher and theorist, assures that since 1990 he has been investigating the reptilians who control the world. Although many people attacked him for this theory, his research, studied by various specialists, surprised by the large amount of documentation. The warning that the reptilians are in control of the world is, in theory, completely correct. World control in the hands of the reptilians. According to Icke, control of the planet rests in the hands of a few magnates. Powerful personalities from the economic, political, and real spheres. These beings are descendants of a race of humanoid reptilians who have always controlled humanity. These dominant reptilians are the ones who hold world power through the Illuminati occult society. It is no secret that economic and political power is divided in a few highly secretive circles. However, Icke's introduction of the lizard element is surprising. It also has proof that it transforms at will. According to his investigations, they measure more than 2 meters tall and their main source of food is blood. These creatures can change their physical appearance from human to reptilian depending on the moment. Icke described in his research an interview with Christine Fitzgerald, a confidant of Princess Diana. He told her that the royal family was made up of alien reptilians and that they could shapeshift at will. The researcher further states that several events in the world were also orchestrated by these creatures. One of the most famous was the September 11, 2001 attacks, which was a reptilian conspiracy to enslave people through fear. This plan was devised by the reptilian servant, George Bush. Although many people argue that such theories are difficult to understand, it is undeniable that they have a powerful impact. Even now, he is convinced that the world will undergo major changes, all planned by this elite. Many people began to wake up, put aside the media manipulation, and investigate on their own. But unfortunately, much of humanity continues to be immersed in this maelstrom of misinformation with which it is manipulated. Although the battle is not lost, people continue to connect with others around the world to share knowledge in hopes of creating large-scale change. Every man is free to believe what he wants. However, it is no secret that there is a globalist leadership pulling the strings of the world, making us fight against each other. But above all, it instills fear in humanity.